I am introducing Candace Gorham. She started the Ebony Exodus project, which was designed to help men and women, but especially black women, get out of the system of oppression that they've been facing because of religion. She has done a lot of amazing work, especially in the realm of mental health, helping people who just don't have access to it. She was even a teacher and a high school teacher in Bermuda. Like, how cool is that? Right now, she is a therapist, again, specializing with helping black women, and she's just so super duper cool. So without any further ado, Candace Gorham.
Does this thing have a clicker? Do I keep seeing clickers around here? Okay. So yes, as he said, Candace Gorham, I'm going to just jump straight in. Because I was like 20 minutes, I have no idea how I talk too much. So I actually had to do notes and stuff. I was like, goodness. Okay, so that's sort of my religious background. Jehovah's Witness up until fifth grade. Then went to, started going to my dad's sort of like the family church. So I got confirmed in the Methodist church. And then when I was in high school, my sister married a fundamentalist preacher type guy. So I got sucked into that, and I was casting out demons and, fasting for a week and, interpreting dreams. And anyway, so I got all into I've been sort of all across the spectrum in terms of religious belief. Personally, one of the things that kind of, you kind of start thinking about is just sort of my own suffering with mental health issues, mental illness. And that was the kind of stuff that just was not being addressed at church. And when it was so-called addressed at church, I needed to have a demon cast out of me. Like 2 o'clock in the morning, I remember waking up and like talking to my pastor, and it was like, come on over, we're going to cast that demon out of you. And I went over at 2 o'clock in the morning. But I'm always very careful. Of course, a lot of atheists don't understand this, right? I'm always very careful that it didn't have anything to do with being mad or angry or anything. So as far as my book itself kind of have my little mantra, black women, the single most religious demographic in the United States, yet we are the bottom of the totem pole in practically every measure of quality of life. So that's sort of what got me into that, again, because of my own struggles and talking to other black women. I'm also a member of the Secular Therapist Project, Clergy Project, African American Humanist, Secular Student Alliance, of course, and a licensed professional counselor. All right, so that's me. Okay, so a little bit of statistic about mental health issues in the United States. 1 in 5 people. So photographer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You right, homegirl, I forgot your name. I'm sorry, we hung out last night. You need an antidepressant. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right here. You have on a black jacket. Right here. Yep. The girl beside you. You pointing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You need an antipsychotic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You need an anti-anxiety. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you see what I'm saying? You see where I'm going? Statistically speaking, there are several of us in this room right now who are suffering. Okay? See? Huh? Well, now that's another one as well. But that might trigger a panic attack, though. All the stimulants. So you got to be careful there. You just never know. Serious mental illnesses being stuff like schizophrenia, bipolar, any of the psychotic disorders, that sort of thing. Here we go. You can see this nice range of statistics there. The reason we really have to take this stuff seriously, though, is the consequences on society as a whole. Okay? Look at those numbers. Mental health and addiction often go together. More than a quarter of homeless people probably have some kind of mental health issues. That's a lot. Prisoners, of course. And more impact. Okay. Look at how much money it's costing us. Almost $200 billion a year. because, of course, that's stuff like lost wages and paying for people to treatment, all of that. And then some more black people, of course, and Hispanics seek treatment way, way, way less. There you go. Have a good time with that, you guys. Has anybody ever heard this? When you make assumptions, you make an ass out of you and me. Yeah. So, of course, that makes me think of when we get into the research. I think you guys have probably been hearing it over the course of this conference. I keep seeing speakers, and I feel like everybody has said something, and when you compile it together, it's my presentation. So now here I am at the end of the day on Sunday, and I'm like, I have nothing unique to say because everybody's already said it. So one of the things that they've said is, of course, we know that the research has been telling us for the longest that, well, if Christians and believers have the best mental health, guess what? We must have the worst mental health. Okay, so you're making an assumption about me, and then you as the researcher, you making yourself look like an ass too, because apparently these are some poorly constructed tests. Research. Okay, because the issue is you've constructed some research and you ain't even include us in it. Okay, the secular populations have rarely been included. How crazy is that? February of this year, these guys came out with a nice new survey or study. It's been an exaggeration. This was what the research looked like. Nearly 5,000 people. Nearly 60%, is that right? Actually non-believers. So for the first time, there's a study that had us at the top like that. And then a little bit of all the other stuff. Y'all know that guy? I felt so bad for using this, but then at the same time, this has been one of my favorite all-time memes that has been like on my phone constantly because I always use that to, pick on people. So I'm sorry, y'all. Don't judge me. Okay? Because the thing is, the believers really do not have the corner on the market. There is no significant differences. That's what the new research is telling us. Okay? We actually have similar levels. So, no better, no worse. One of the things that we find is that this sort of curvilinear relationship, the more certainty has a small impact on how the mental health. So sort of the more certain you are, certain that God does exist, certain that he does not exist, typically those had the better mental health outcomes. But again, it was only a small contribution to the total, it was only a small variance or variable. There we go. It's not as much. And of course, there's some positive, it's a little bit more positive in terms of the religious people and their mental wellness, but being religious, of course, does not automatically mean that you are going to be mentally well. And this is one of the things that I've heard multiple people say, which is so important to me as a therapist to point out to people, that the social network. Really, at the end, what the research showed was that it was the social support. The better people's social network was, actually the better their mental health outcomes were. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be an extrovert. It just means that whatever is a high-quality support network for you. All right. So in the Bible, there's a few reasons why, if you're sick of any kind of sickness, right, physical or mental health. I don't know if you guys know this story about the king. It says, yet his disease, he sought not to the Lord, but to physicians, and he died. So there he was. He did not have enough faith. He didn't come to God for that. God might be intentionally testing you. Okay? That's the story of Job, right? God allowed Satan to just completely afflict this man full of sickness as part of a test. I'm going to admit something to y'all. Don't judge me again. Okay. So, this is funny. Don't feel bad that you laughed. I put it there because I thought it was funny as well. But my father was diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer a year ago. So, he moved in with me recently because he's starting chemo. My dad was the one who used to be the Jehovah's Witness. And I had this little Jehovah's Witness lady who really just took to me, and she would come by all the time, and we would chit-chat. So I got some Jehovah's Witness materials laying around. But now my dad, he had kind of like really drifted away from it. I kid y'all not. The other day I was like, I have got to hide these little Watchtowers and Awake magazines because I don't want my daddy reading that shit and then deciding that, oh, I need to go back to this. And, you know, because we already had the conversation about whether or not he's going to accept a blood transfusion, you know, when they're doing some kind of surgery. And I'm like slowly like collecting the little books and like hiding it over here and hiding one over there like, oh God, I don't want him to get sucked back into that. I'm sorry. I have evil in my heart. Okay. Of course, also we know the faith healing. You know, we're supposed to depend on God to heal us, right? But you guys are all familiar with the story that Jesus found the man in the cave, and so he cast out the demons, legion. This is the story according to Mark. He had an impure spirit. He was so strong in his impure spiritness that he was breaking the chains off of himself. He cried, he cut himself. Then Jesus yells at him, come out. Okay? So that's the Mark version. Luke had his own version, of course. Demon possessed, didn't have clothes, didn't live in a house. And after Jesus yelled at him, guess what? He's now in his right mind. As a therapist, this is what I see. My poor man was suffering from psychosis. He was probably depressed because he was cutting himself. His social needs weren't being met. He was living in a cave. Economical, living in a cave. Homeless. I don't know why I put that up there. I just think she's funny. I just love that one. But my point is, right? I'm going to go back. My point is that the businessman's basic needs were not being met. And so that was what was likely contributing to this spiral of why his mental health was not improving. Okay. I quoted you from last night, Dan. Life has no meaning. Like, that's what I took away from your talk. Now I'm just messing with you. So why are all these atheists? What do we have to be happy about, right? You guys are familiar with this guy. It's a strange myth that atheists have nothing to live for. It's the opposite. We have nothing to die for. We have everything to live for. I totally love Neil deGrasse Tyson. I worship him. By the way, if anybody in here knows Neil deGrasse Tyson, this is not a slight on my awesome father. I love this man, and I've been saying for years, like, I want him to be my adopted father. So if anybody knows him, be like, the girl that wrote Ebony Exodus, she wants you to adopt her and be her father. I love Neil deGrasse Tyson. Okay. Halloween is my favorite holiday. What do atheists have to live for? We still celebrate holidays. See, the guy was just talking about my stuff, right? We still like holidays. We got family to live for. I've heard about 2 or 3 talks this weekend that had to do with building meaning as Christians, right? All these lovely, beautiful words of whatever we do, right? I like wine, okay? I actually like something else more than wine, but then I was like, I probably should leave illegal stuff off. Okay. I don't know if you can see that. I can't even see it. Appreciate the beauty in life. That's what it said. Okay? Holidays, again, making our own meaning. This one, the lady says, The advantage of having an atheist boyfriend is that he worships only me. So we have romantic relationships, right? Here's another one. I was an atheist until I found out I was a sex god. Sex is great too. And how many of you would say, I don't know how many used to be religious, but when you go from religious to not religious, how many would say their sex life got better as well? That's what I thought. That's why, there you go, there's your man in the back, Daryl Ray. Jump up here and tell us about I masturbate. My first talk that I ever heard of Daryl, it was like, everybody stand up, say, I masturbate. And then, of course, you know, you got some, even I didn't raise my hand. Everybody was like, no, I don't masturbate. Yeah, you do. Don't let me check your browser history. No, because now they have the private, you know, you can put it on incognito mode, okay? I had one of my friends, it was tragic. I told him, I was like, bro, Google will get you in trouble. It will get, because they'll, like, open up all of your stuff. Y'all know? I'm sorry. Okay, sex. Let's move on. All right. I'm moving so fast. What time is it? Mental health issues. Oh, okay. Now I'm doing good. All right. You can go see your local therapist, get you some psychotherapy, some talk therapy, psychoeducation group, medications. When it comes to medication management, I tell my clients all the time, why suffer? Why suffer? I know we can get into conversation about side effects and whether it's good for long term. Some issues, I mean, it's a brain-based issue. For some people, not everybody. Okay. There's a model, a treatment model that I use. And the sort of mantra is pills don't teach skills, but pills make it more possible to learn the skills. So if you think about like an ADHD child, the medication's not going to put the stuff in his head, but guess what? When he goes to class, if he can actually sit down and not squirm all over, well, now he might be able to learn some other skills. Why suffer? Anybody in here ever go, oh, I'm having a natural birth, and then you get in there and you like, where's that damn epidural, please? That was me. Okay, what you can do for yourself, you know, again, find your appropriate level of social engagement. I'm looking. You haven't put up a sign yet. Limit your alcohol. You got to be careful with that. More and more research actually is starting to come out, guys. It says it's good for your mental health, especially mood disorders and PTSD. Smoking weed. So, yeah. Okay. Bipolar is a mood disorder. Well, good thing you asked. What time do we leave here today? Anyway, okay. But you do have to be careful with weed on psychotic disorders. And some of you guys may have been hearing the news about, or you may be aware of why the research is not very prevalent in the U.S. because of, like the U.S. has a restriction. What's the university? Does anybody know? There's one university, I think, like in Mississippi, who can grow. The government strictly says this university can grow the weed, and anybody else who needs weed for research has to get it from this university, and it's really hard to get the weed. So we actually don't have that much research from the U.S. about it. So a lot of our research about how it's effective in mental health comes from other countries, actually. And then what we can do as a people, right? We just need to talk about it. It's all about consciousness raising awareness. You know, if you have friends or family, one of the things I found as a counselor myself is that when people come to me and they're resistant to participating in therapy, they're resistant to medications, it's really all about talking. I had one woman who is just super duper. It's really hard to get through to her because everything is, well, God, but God. When I go to my church,